So it was November of 2015 and I nervously sent off my first email announcing the start of my business. I said, I love two things about Houston, the people and the gardens. And it's for this reason that I'm starting my first company called Rooted Garden. I was so nervous, and to be honest, it probably took me 5 days to set up the email, but I finally sent it off. I think I even put the wrong date in my email, but it was my first attempt to tell people that I really wanted to start a business centered around the idea of gardening. Let me back up just a few steps. So I'm a mom to 4 kids, and up until 2015, I had been homeschooling them. So I had them home with me every day, all day. My family was happy, things were going well, and we had been gardening as a family for about 5 years, both in Nashville, Tennessee, and in our new home in Houston, Texas. My husband is an organic chemist, so he was busy at work at MD Anderson, and things were going well, but there was a little part of me that really missed working and missed being in business. So my husband was hard at work, and I was doing some consulting work on the side, but it was pretty clear as we did our finances every month that it would be super great if I could bring more money into the family. So that fall, I actually applied to a ton of different jobs. I tried to be a teacher. I tried to be a substitute teacher. I even went and applied at MD Anderson myself to work in their development office. And every single time, the same thing came up, that to work and to bring more money into my family, I was gonna need to be away from my family more often. So I wouldn't be home with my kids in the afternoons, maybe not even with them in the mornings, and definitely not with them at nights or weekends. So I just kept coming up against things were a big no for me. So I decided if I'm gonna bring more money into my family, if I'm going to work, I think I'm just gonna have to start my own business. So there was this little question every time I was out in my garden. I thought, I love the garden so much, and I truly believe in the goodness of it. For 5 years, I'd been learning to garden myself, and started gardening honestly at a little bit of a hard time for myself. I had 4 kids under 5, and I was looking for some place to kind of get away when I couldn't get away, if you know what I mean. And the garden became that place for me, just a place where I could learn even as an adult, where I could find beauty in some of the simplest ways, and I could bring a little bit of magic into my kitchen, which otherwise was kind of honestly a boring and difficult place to be. So the garden had brought me so much joy, and I thought, I wonder if there's any possible way that I could take the joy I have in the garden and turn it into some type of business. So my first idea was actually to start Rooted Garden Goods. My idea was I was gonna grow a ton of things in my own garden and sell them. We took 3 beds, we turned them into 6, and I started telling anybody who would listen that we were gonna be growing enough salad to sell salad harvest to everyone in the area. I was fascinated with the idea that you could root plants, that plants were this self-propagating thing, that they would just make more and more and more of themselves on their own. So I was in love with the garden and just kind of questioning whether this would take off and be possible. So I went to the county clerk, registered Rooted Garden Goods. I called one of my friends and I was asking her about business formation, and she actually said to me, she said, Nicole, I don't actually want to buy your harvest from your garden. I could get that at the farmer's market or through a CSA. What I really want is for you to teach me how you grow that salad in your garden. She said, have you ever thought about not growing things to sell, but selling garden consulting, selling the knowledge that you have and passing that on to people like me who really want to learn but feel overwhelmed and confused? That phone conversation was probably the most important talk I'd had in months, and a light bulb went off, and I thought, oh my goodness, it's going to be so much more fun to share the knowledge and to share the spark and the joy that I've had in the garden with clients, rather than necessarily doing all the labor and the harvesting and the washing and the packaging. Even though that's super fun, I knew I would find more joy in watching people learn the skill and the art of gardening than selling things from my garden. So would you believe I went back to the county clerk? I bought back the registration of Rooted Garden Goods, and instead I registered just simply Rooted Garden. And I set out on my task to become a garden consultant, not selling things from my garden. Now, mind you, I did actually end up selling tons of plants from my garden, especially in that first year. So I sold these little salad planters, and I would teach clients how to grow salad and deliver them full of all these salad plants I had pulled from my own garden space. So that was October, November of 2015. November was when I sent out my first email. By Christmas, I had already done probably 10 different consults and started to help some of my friends put in these DIY garden boxes. So I would go into a space, I would observe the space, I would look at it, measure it, and come up with a plan for them. So it might be a 4x4 box or a 4x8 box. I would get them the box, I would deliver them soil. I would often bring plants from my own garden. So it was mostly boxes, soil, plants, and seeds, and then a lot of instruction. Before Christmas, I had already really brought my company to life. People were starting to get to know me, and I had a bunch of clients, not a bunch, but 10, book me for January of 2016. Now, an important thing to put here right at the beginning is to let you know that it didn't take hardly any money to get this little business started. So I told you my kids had been homeschooled. Well, I had been registering all of them for school for the fall of 15, and I'd registered my youngest daughter, she was 3, for preschool, and I ended up not choosing that particular preschool. So right around the time I was ready to start Rooted Garden, that preschool that I pulled my registration from, they sent me the check for $450. So I took that check straight to the bank. I didn't tell my husband. And I just used it to start Rooted Garden. And would you believe, 5.5 years later, that is the only check I've ever taken from my own personal account to fund and grow my company, Rooted Garden. So that's how it all got started. I'm gonna tell you more of the story as we keep going. But before I finish here, I just have to show you where we are today. So this is a garden trio. It's made of steel. It's got these gorgeous arch trellises. And this is actually Jill Oliver over here, one of our head consultants at Rooted Garden, who now does the job that I started back in 2015. So as we go along through this video series, I'm gonna tell you more about my team and about what Rooted Garden has become. But I wanna just give you a view of what you can create when you have the dream and the vision and the right idea, which my friend gave me that perfect idea when she said, focus on teaching others the joy and the ability to garden, and you will go far. So stay tuned, I'll tell you more about the art of becoming a garden consultant in the next video.